Good afternoon, YouTubers. Well, like a moth to the flame here, it's Joe Kersey here on January 8th, 2014 at 1500 in the afternoon Eastern Time, or 15 plus 5 is 2000 Zulu time. Well, today's the battle of the anniversary of the Battle of New Orleans in 1815, wherein Andrew Jackson's troops, and I don't know, he may have gotten in a couple of good licks as well, since he was that kind of guy, defeated the British. He was also using the help of some pirates. Of course, the interesting thing about that is that battle took place after the war had actually ended, because they had already signed the Treaty of Ghent in 1814, about 2 months before, but of course the word hadn't gotten back across the Atlantic yet, so they were still fighting that. And then I think there's also some association of this date with Elvis Presley or some nonsense like that. Anyway, it's my birthday, my 62nd birthday. And so that means I'm now eligible for Social Security. So I eagerly await my first Social Security check here, I think, probably February 1st. I have to watch my bank account carefully to see if that goes in when it's supposed to. Oh, such is the foolishness that life consists of, from time to time at any rate. Well, we've warmed up. We're up here into the mid-20s right now. And I went down, I even turned off the heater in the basement. It was up to 52, and basically, you know, if the temperature stays much above 10, I don't need to run anything down there anyway. So, still, you know, you got to keep track of these things. I've been up reading. Well, I've been up since 11:30 last night. I've got a tremendous problem sleeping, and so I sat up and I read Dave Eggers' new book. Well, it's a relatively new book. It came out about 3 or 4 months ago, I think, called The Circle, and it's a roman à clef, basically very thinly disguised roman à clef about Google and you know, not just Google, but all the other sort of internet-y social networking site outfits, you know, that want to, you know, have everybody yakking and banging around on each other all the time. It's a terrifying book. It's far more straightforwardly written than his more or less autobiographical memoir, you know, heartbreaking work of outstanding genius. I don't think that's the exact title. That he wrote. Well, that was his first thing that I encountered, and that was about. That had to be about 10 or 11, 12 years ago now. An outstanding book. Now he at that time was using a style very similar to David Foster Wallace. Far more, you know, far longer sentences. You know, a lot of obscure. Well, there's just he more or less convoluted syntax from time to time, and then he did this thing where he had a lot of footnotes. Now, if you've ever read any of David Foster Wallace, this man basically writes almost half. Well, he doesn't write anymore because he hanged himself. He was depressed, so he killed himself. But he used a lot of footnotes. His sort of magnum opus was Infinite Jest. Now, if you want to take 3 or 4 months out of your life, read Infinite Jest. I mean, I say that, I sound sarcastic when I say it, but it's very worthwhile reading. It's as dense and difficult as it is, it's far more accessible than, say, Thomas Pynchon's Gravity's Rainbow. Because I don't think David Foster Wallace was on drugs when he wrote this book. Whereas I think Thomas Pynchon, well, let's just say the book sounds as if he might have been, but I can't say that he was because I don't know. So I'm not implying anything there. I'm really speculating that that book sounds like it was written by somebody who was on drugs. But there's a lot of stuff. I mean, you go into any mainstream newspaper, and just from the sheer idiocy of some of the ideas espoused, you think some of these people are on drugs. Anyway, and they probably aren't. I don't think Paul Krugman's on drugs. And he's got some of the most insane writings out there. He writes for the New York Times. He's a, quote, economist, unquote. He wants to destroy our currency and wreck our way of life. But I digress, as I often do. Now today, I, of course, read through the various online newspapers and then did my YouTube-y stuff, and I've started doing it now to my email because they send you an email, and then you say, oh, you go to the video from the email. And then you can always check around anyway out, on the actual site. But there's this one guy over in England that I like to listen to, and he says, well, if you want to know what I'm doing, you'll have to follow me on Twitter. All right. But this guy's an interesting guy. So I thought, well, all right. So I've purposely not gotten involved in this Twit-er thing because first of all, it's 140 characters. Come on, I can barely open a sentence in 140 characters. I'm just getting into the meat of the sentence by that time that rolls around. Still, concision of thought is not a habit of mine to be eschewed. So let's just sign up for this bad boy. So, there's certain things about the internet that are easy. Well, particularly after you've been doing it for about a year and a half now. Well, year and 3 or 4 months. And there are certain things about the internet that are still difficult. Well, today I ran into both of these phenomena. The initial sign-up was okay, but then if you want to upload like a profile picture, let alone something that they call a header, whatever the heck that is, and it seemed very straightforward. Is that choose file, okay. So I went into Finder and selected, and then after repeated attempts, once again, nearly trespassing on Einstein's definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. The internet lends itself to that, doesn't it? Round and around and around and around and around and around. It dawned on me that perhaps the photograph I was selecting was not done in the file format which they wished. And indeed that was the case. I was trying to upload a TIFF file, or TIF file, I don't know if it's one F or two. And they wanted either like a JPEG or a PNG or, you know. So once I cottoned onto that, I got the picture up there right away. So then I thought, well, now let's tackle this header problem. And that just remained an enigma. So I thought, well, I've done all I can do here today. And that's all I'm going to do. So I did send this guy a twit. And so I said in my twit, you know, I'm following you now on Twit-er. I'm so ashamed to be telling you all this. It's finally come to this. Oh, here we are, reduced to standing in the rubble of a once great civilization. Well, it's a lot of fun one way or the other. Beats dirt napping, doesn't it? So, Paul's still at work. Paul's at work. He had to go back to work today, and then he works, well, through the, I think he's going to be sort of on a Wednesday through Sunday, and then Monday, Tuesday off schedule. We're getting a little, very light snow right now, and I guess there's going to be some stuff off and on now for the next few days, and then some rain on Saturday. But you know, the threat of impending death from going outside is over for a while. I guess unless you're sleeping raw outside, like some unfortunates are. God bless them. We're all just two bad decisions away from that one, guys. Okay, now, I'm going to say bye-bye. And that's it. Bye-bye, YouTube.